Last but not least, might be something new to you. These are called the reciprocal trigonometric functions. The cosecant, which is abbreviated CSC of an angle theta, is the reciprocal of the sine function. So if you look at sine here, sine is opposite on top, hypotenuse on the bottom. This is just the inverse, so it's hypotenuse on top and opposite on the bottom. So if you start here at this reference angle of theta, and this is the adjacent, this is the opposite, and this is the hypotenuse, the cosecant, CSC, is hypotenuse over opposite, or 5/4. Okay, so it's the inverse or the flip of sine. Secant, which is abbreviated SEC, is the reciprocal of cosine. So instead of AH, cosine is AH, it's HA. So the hypotenuse is 5, it goes on top now, and the adjacent is 3, that goes on the bottom. Again, it's the reciprocal of cosine. Finally, the cotangent, which is abbreviated COT or cot, is the reciprocal of tangent. That's probably the easiest one to remember. So if tangent is opposite adjacent, this is the flip of that, which is adjacent on top, opposite on the bottom. So using this picture, the cotangent from theta, if this is our reference angle, the adjacent goes on top, which is the 3, and the opposite goes on the bottom, which is the 4. Okay, so these are just reciprocal functions. The cosecant is related to sine, it's its inverse. The secant matches up with cosine, and cotangent matches up with tangent. We'll do a fresh example to take us home here. And the directions say, using this triangle provided, find the values of the cosecant, the secant, and the cotangent functions for angle C. So that's important. It could have been, the reference angles could have been A or C. You don't use the right angle as your reference angle. You use the acute one, so it could have been A or C. The directions say angle C. So angle C is our reference angle. So from angle C now, I can label my picture if I want. From the reference angle to the 90-degree corner is always your adjacent. The opposite cuts through the triangle to the side the farthest away from it, opposite. And the hypotenuse is the longest side. It's the ramp across from the 90-degree angle. So now that we have the picture labeled, given the reference angle C, we can figure this out. The cosecant is CSC. From angle C, the cosecant is related to sine. It's the inverse of sine. So instead of opposite hypotenuse, it's hypotenuse over opposite, which in this case would be 34/30. Now that's fine. If you want to simplify, that's cool too. You can cut them in half. Half of 34 is 17. Half of 30 is 15. Okay, that's done. Next, the secant, which is abbreviated SEC, starting from a reference angle C, it is the inverse of cosine. So if cosine is AH, this is H over A, which specifically to this example, the hypotenuse is 34. The adjacent is 16. So there you have your ratio. If you want to simplify it, go for it. You can cut them in half because they're even. Half of 34 is 17. Half of 16 is 8. And then finally, we have that one's done. We have the cotangent, which is abbreviated COT. The cotangent ratio from C is the inverse of tangent. So instead of opposite adjacent OA, it's A over O, which specifically is 16/30. You can simplify that. Evens, you can always cut in half. Half of 16 is 8. Half of 30 is 15. So this is a short and sweet introduction to the reciprocal functions, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. A little bit more practice, and you guys will have lesson 1 in the books. Thank you very much, and I hope you found this video helpful.